Is it possible to do both? For those of you who desire to be your own boss, you probably noticed by now that the journey is not easy. It may be even more difficult if you're currently working a 9-to-5 job. I'm sure you've heard people say, just go for it. You can do both. Just work on your business at night and on the weekends. It sounds so simple, but it's not simple at all. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 3 personality traits required to successfully run a business and work a 9-to-5 job at the same time. And if you like what you learn here, be sure to hit the subscribe button. This is the one and only podcast intentionally designed to push you forward towards the vision you've created for your life. And if you don't have a vision for your life, this is the podcast to help you structure a vision to become the person that God created you to be. And with every episode, my goal is to tell real, authentic, and purposeful stories, not cap, but true stories to help you create a vision for your life and get closer to your purpose. A purpose where you're having a positive impact on those around you and on the world. What I'm getting ready to share here today will be an important lesson for you to keep in mind along your journey. Taking steps towards fulfilling your purpose is going to require you to put in overtime. If you're working a full-time job that is not allowing you the freedom to live out your dream or give an idea a try, trust me, I can relate. I'm currently a full-time employee at a technology consulting company called ETS Solutions. I also run a business called Visionary Writing, and both of these ventures require my full attention and willpower. For a long time, I had the belief that I couldn't effectively do both. I thought that I would have to sacrifice one for the other, but that was until I did the research. I learned that what I was dealing with is completely normal for any entrepreneur to face. Unless an entrepreneur was born rich, they have to start out their journey working for someone else. And despite what social media tells you, it's not a bad thing. If you have the right collection of tools, you'll be able to thrive while working your job until your dream becomes your job. And as I record this episode, I've been working at my job for about a year, and my business is gearing up to release a new project next month. On top of this, I just entered into another business venture with my sister. It's a vegan cookie company, and shameless plug here, my sister has been vegan for 6 years, and she makes the absolute best cookies I've ever tasted in my life. If you want to check them out, you can go to bovtreats.com. Honestly, if it wasn't for the 3 things I'm about to share, I would not be able to do everything that I just named. And I do know this. These traits have worked for some of the greatest minds that ever existed, and they work for me today. So I strongly believe they'll work for you as well, only if you decide to commit to them. The first thing is this: discipline. When I hired my millionaire business coach and I asked him, how do I build my business while working a 9-to-5? He told me I had to make strict time commitments for my days. You have to make a commitment to yourself that you will work as hard as you can during working hours. And then as soon as working hours are finished, you detach. No overtime, no after-hour emails. Once 5 o'clock hits, you are focused on your business. And I heard someone say a quote that validated my coach's suggestion. I forgot her name, but someone asked her how is she able to do so many things at one time. And she said, I make sure to be where my feet are. And that's powerful. Be where your feet are. If you're physically in the office, focus on what's needed from you to be able to do the best work in that office. And if you're home on your computer, focus your mind on executing the work that's needed on that computer. Your mind will throw distractions at you in the form of thoughts, ideas, or potential conversations. But it takes discipline to be able to block everything out. And discipline will help you see your vision through. And before I go any further, I want to stress the fact that none of these 3 traits I share today are easy to implement, nor is the implementation a linear process. You'll be tested over and over again and you'll definitely fail at times. But through consistent action in the right direction, you'll begin to build up strength. And now with discipline, you not only have to be disciplined with your time, you have to be disciplined with your finances. One of the perks of building a business or working a 9-to-5 is the advantage of receiving consistent capital. You are your own accountant as an entrepreneur, so you have to act accordingly. You have to make a budget and stick to it. Decide how much you need per month for your most basic necessities and determine how much money you're gonna put aside for your business. That is without starving or ending up homeless, of course. But see, the lack of capital keeps most entrepreneurs away from success. And so if you become disciplined and intentional with your finances early on, that will put you ahead of the game. Now, the second trait is leadership. This is an obvious trait needed to run a business, but not everyone is aware of how it's critical in the workplace also. As an employee, you are a part of a business. Even though it's not your own, you can still learn a lot by taking intentional actions. And I'm not sure if you've heard this before, but you can use your job as practice, and don't feel bad about it. Your job will use you plenty of times, and it's only right to take advantage of your job in return. You can practice your leadership skills by taking on the founder's mentality. And what is the founder's mentality, you ask? Well, the founder's mentality is basically treating your employer as if you're the founder. You care deeply about everything you do within the organization like it's your own. Imagine what this would do for you on a daily basis. Your boss will begin to see it because there's a clear difference between people working for a paycheck and people working because they deeply care about the company. If you're having trouble with this, let me give you some encouragement. The famous investor Naval said this: you have to think like you're the owner, and eventually you'll become the owner. A practical way to begin developing a leadership mindset within the workplace is to find an area where you have interest and take accountability. You will see people fall in line behind you. I'll give you an example from my personal experience. As a part of my role, I am asked to collect testimonials from previous clients. And since I enjoy podcasts and interviewing, I decided to develop an idea to start a podcast within the company where we talk with past clients and even prospects. Now, this was a completely new idea that had never been presented before. And so when I first mentioned it, my team members weren't as excited as I was hoping. They thought it was a good idea, but they didn't understand how it was relevant to the company. And so I continued to work on the idea. I didn't just give up after the first meeting. I continued to work and work and work, and I developed a business plan. I also went ahead and designed the artwork, and I bought the software myself. A few weeks later, I re-presented the idea, and this time I had more to show for. By taking the lead and building on an idea, my idea was eventually approved. And now, guess who's leading the way for this project? Exactly. So find a way to build within your current role at your job, and keep in mind that you are doing it for the experience, because one day you'll be the boss and you'll have to create, develop, and nurture all of the ideas. And now, number 3, resiliency. Now, this is a trait that will test how bad you truly want it. If you're gonna run a business successfully while working at 9-to-5, you will have to be resilient. And I just love the sound of that word, resilient. And let's dissect this word a little before I move forward. Dictionary.com defines resilient as this: returning to the original form or position after being bent, compressed, or stretched. And this is literally the perfect way to describe what I mean by resiliency. Working a 9-to-5 isn't easy. It's hard work. There will be days where you feel like you've been bent, compressed, or stretched at work. But to run a business while working a 9-to-5, you will have to be able to mentally return back to normal and start putting in work on your business after you've been beaten up at work. And it's a must, because you're basically just working 2 shifts. And there will be times where you have to sacrifice sleep or conversations with friends and family, but it's a sacrifice that will definitely pay off in the long run. And this too will take practice. You can't just flip a switch and become instantly resilient if you weren't before. You have to train your mind. But luckily, understanding comes through repetition. So as you listen to this episode over and over again, and you get reminded of all the things that are necessary in order to run a business while working a 9-to-5, you'll eventually understand this stuff deeply. It'll become a part of who you are. And that's what I hope for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please comment wherever you're watching right now or listening, and be sure to subscribe to Your Visionary Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if you would like additional resources, such as the monthly budget that I use or my time tracker, email me. My email is christian@visionarywriting.co. And if you learned anything today, please share it with a friend. This is a free podcast, and all I ask in return is that you share it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to talk to you next time. Peace and love.